Okay, quick disclaimer before we get started. The Blockmates podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The information and opinions expressed on the podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Blockmates or its affiliates. Listeners are encouraged to do their own research and consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Blockmates and its affiliates are not liable for any losses or damages incurred as a result of the reliance on the information or opinions expressed on this podcast.
We're back. Nick is joining us from Unstoppable. Sir, it's good to have you back. Last time we chatted, you were getting ready to do a whole lot of stuff, and I just felt like maybe that was a good time to check in with you. Firstly, how are you? How are things going?
All good so far on our end. We have been quite busy. There's still a lot to do. So that's kind of, well, not the downside, but what comes with the territory of being a builder. But yeah, we made good progress and are excited where we are and what's coming in the coming weeks and months. So so far, everything good. Yeah.
Great. I wanted to just check in with you, what happens in the space is that, there's kind of like the different narratives and things happen here and there, and you kind of like focus on that, and it's always good to obviously come back to a protocol that essentially started out. They did a raise, which obviously you guys did, and there was a mission, and the mission was that we want to build this DEX. We have certain priorities around what we deem as important, and I wanted to just check in with you and just kind of get like a broad overview as to how things kind of or should I say, what were the kind of the expectations that you had when you started versus what you now are kind of looking in the mirror? What have been the pertinent points that have come up for you guys up until now?
I would say that overall, the core focus, the main mission, nothing on that side changed. We always said we really want to build the DeFi native version of what people are currently still forced to use in the CeFi world. So we don't see any technical limitations of why something like an on and off ramp or something like the trading capabilities of centralized exchanges, why that couldn't or shouldn't exist in a decentralized way. So that was the goal and still is the goal. And then the step beyond that is that we really want to reduce the barrier of entry for new people. Those people that in the hopefully coming next bull run that would go to Coinbase, to Binance, to last cycle FTX, and we know how that played out. We really want to give them an alternative that is built on this superior tech, on this superior stack, where from the start you start out with self-custody, with your own wallet, where you don't have to trust that centralized intermediary, and where you can really on-ramp simply into the DeFi world. But yeah, as we know so far, the UX and also some of the features have been missing in the past. For the decentralized version to be a real alternative for especially newcomers, but also crypto natives. And this is really the gap we are trying to fill. And the thing that we want to achieve, that there is a real decentralized version of all these features that people need to come into the space, to learn about the space, to participate in the space, to use the possibilities that this space offers. And we really want to make that accessible to everyone, and not just the hardcore crypto natives that aren't scared and know how to work with wallets and seed phrases and 15 different protocols and centralized exchanges and banks and credit cards and all of that. And we really want to abstract away all of that complexity and make it super simple for both ourselves and all the crypto natives that are already in the space, but also for the people that are not participating yet because it is too complicated or too risky or too difficult or whatever the reason is. And we really want to build this this platform, this ecosystem that offers a real decentralized alternative that doesn't compromise on the underlying values, the crypto native values, self-custody, decentralization, permissionlessness, so that people can actually, automatically have all these benefits of this space and of this amazing tech, without having to jump through all the technical and complicated hurdles that currently they still would have to participate. Yeah, but overall, that didn't change. That was the mission, that is the mission, and we are making good progress. It's a big mission and vision, so it will take some time to achieve the full scope of it, but we are going to go step by step. And the first thing that we're focusing on right now is the trading capabilities. So that is advanced order type, like you would find on centralized exchanges, that we can offer that on the decentralized world. And then on top of that, the margin trading capabilities, so trading with leverage, that there's also a good platform for that. And this will then be the foundation where we can integrate the easier on and off ramp or wallet parts and grow the overall crypto community and crypto participants.
So Nick, you've obviously singing the same tune. I mean, nothing's changed, which is, I mean, obviously that's the most important thing, and I don't think it ever will change with you. That's something that I'm willing to bet on, is that there definitely is an underlying passion here that, you know, is in essence what we need for obviously DeFi. But obviously from a decentralized exchange per se, there's certain things that are currently lacking in the market, and you've obviously like shed light on some of those things. And I want to come back to like the fundamentals of it, and that is that if I want to buy something on chain, right, and it's a spot trade, let's put perpetual trading aside because everyone seems to be really preoccupied with that, and I can see why. And it's like, you know, like DJs love that kind of thing, but I do believe that it's in many ways, when I see a DEX that comes up and all they're offering is perpetuals, I get a little bit sad. I mean, I think it's cool, don't get me wrong, because that's where the market fit is, right? Because at the end of the day, you guys, even us, we're building stuff that's market appropriate and what people want, and it's always going to take precedence. But the reason why I get sad is that I would love to be in a position where say, for example, there's token A, and I can see it's like 12 o'clock at night. I can see that it's going down. I've got my levels set. I'd really like to be able to set a limit trade, you know, set it, go to bed. And if, you know, it does wick down there, I'm obviously going to pick it up. But right now, that functionality doesn't really exist, especially with outlier tokens. Please, sir, can you do something for me and just build that as soon as possible? Because if you do that, I will be the first guy standing on the rooftops demanding that people use your product. I mean, that's just from my personal experience, and I'm pretty sure there's probably another 10,000 DJs that are agreeing with me on this.
Well, the good news is at least the first version of it is already built and it's live on Arbitrum mainnet. So you can already use limit orders and go to bed and still get the prices that you figured or wanted to buy. So a few weeks ago, or actually a bit more than a few weeks by now already, we already released the first version of limit orders built on top of Uniswap v3 liquidity on Arbitrum. So there is now a URL. We can probably link it in the description of the videos. It's the spot DEX that we released. And right now it has two of the advanced order types are already live. The first one is limit orders, and the second one is DCA orders, so dollar cost averaging. And in the current UI,
Can you show us?
Sure.
Can you share a screen?
Sure.
We didn't plan this, by the way. To people who are viewing and people who are listening, we didn't plan this, I promise. This was not planned.
Sure, let me see.
See, people don't believe me now. I promise you, we didn't plan this. See, Nick's still looking for it.
What we can also
it would
do
be nice to see
that...
it. I'd love to see it. That's why I'm very keen to get it on. Yeah,
absolutely. I can show you, or we can also have you walk through and see. Let me see with the screen sharing here. Is it always full screen, or can I select the correct browser?
I think you can. It asks you to select the.
Okay.
I think it asks you to the tab, or is it not working?
Well, it doesn't work with my current permissions from the browser that we are on right now, so we would have to restart. Or you just share it. I'll send you the link right now.
I don't think it will work either for me, because
okay.
I'm on Brave and it doesn't want to work. We could switch across. I mean, it's not. Let me see if we can try. We can cut this out of the video anyways. And just edit it out later. It will work. Cool. All right. So let me just put this out. You sent a link in chat, hey?
On our Discord, yeah.
On Discord, okay. Just connect the wallet quick. Okay, that's cool. Then you can just walk me through it. Okay, let me start again. Okay, are you leaving? Yeah. Okay. You can leave the door open.
Walk around a bit first, so close it.
Okay, cool.
If it doesn't show the chart, you need to refresh it after the wallet is connected.
Okay.
Because there should be a chart.
There we go. Cool. All right. Okay, so let's pick up from where we left off. So Nick, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just do a screen share and just you can walk me through obviously what it is that you're chatting about. For everyone who's wondering about kind of like the incongruence around what happened before to what's happening now, we had to stop the video because Nick couldn't share his screen. So we just decided that I would, and then he'd walk me through it. So let's just bring it up. Considering we've just introduced the LARP NFT for our membership, I think it would be good that we would not LARP and just kind of like tell everyone our inconsistencies on air. Okay, so walk me through this. So essentially, I can set a buy or sell order via a limit function. Is that correct?
Exactly. So just the alpha version of our spot DEX. And yeah, as you can see, there is the trading view charts on the left side with different time frames and everything like you're used from some other platforms. And basically, you can either, if you want to buy or sell, you can either input a price or you can just click on the chart on whatever level you want to buy or sell. So if you click below the current price, it will automatically make it a limit buy order. And if you click above the current price, it will be an automatic limit sell order.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we are still experimenting with some aspects of the UI and UX flows to make them really simple. For example, we are very explicit now here in the text. If you go on the limit buy from top to bottom, it says you buy this amount of wrapped ETH with this amount of USDC. But that's, for example, one thing we noticed on the tester feedback, that people don't read. they are more drawn by the visuals and everything. And even if you explicitly, like from top to bottom, from left to right, write it out, they are still sometimes not exactly sure what's happening. So there's definitely some aspects that we are going to change now with the current implementation. But what you can see here, currently we are supporting the highest volume pairs that are available on Arbitrum Uniswap v3. So there's a bunch of tokens there, including our own token, the Arbitrum token, Premia, GMX. For those, we already, now you moved around. If you double click the price scale on the TradingView chart, then it will automatically focus again on the right on the prices. If you double click that. On the chart side.
On the chart, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. Then we'll autofocus again on TradingView charts. So right now from the UI, there's a select bunch of pairs that you can pick your token from. They are paired against wrapped ETH if they have the direct wrapped ETH pool, but we also allow multi-hop swaps. So if you want to go from stablecoin or to stablecoin, even if the token itself doesn't have a stable pair, we will then find a common base pair and route it either through the wrapped ETH or the USDT or USDC pools so that you can get in and out. And from all the on-chain side and all the functionality, it already supports any pool that is available on Arbitrum Uniswap v3. In the UI, we currently still have it limited because we are still collecting the chart data. So also the chart data, the candles, we are scraping that from the on-chain actual data. So all the swaps that are happening on-chain, we are collecting them and then we are processing them to create the chart data that you can see here in the visuals. There have been some challenges around that because there's some really messed up outliers that kind of screw up the entire chart a lot. And that's basically the sandwich attacks that are happening. So there's suddenly a swap on that pair that is completely somewhere else because somebody forgot to put in the correct slippage setting or something. So we are cleaning up that. And then as soon as we have all the pair data collected, then we will also enable the UI that you can basically input any token to any token. And we will find a common base pair if there isn't a direct pool and then route it through that for you. Other than that, you basically set here your limit buy, limit sell order wherever you want. It's completely self-custodial, so the money stays in your wallet. You just approve our swap contract that under these certain conditions, namely if you get at least this amount of the token you want to buy for this amount of the token you want to sell, then somebody else or our smart contract is allowed to do that swap for you. So you don't have to deposit it into the smart contract. The smart contract isn't holding any of the funds. It just has the approval to swap this amount of, in this case now, one amount of GMX for at least 0.02 wrapped ETH. And we, in the background, we have a keeper infrastructure that monitors the smart contract and sees if there's a new order being placed, and that it will keep that in memory. And whenever there's a price change on the on-chain pool, it will check, can I execute this order now? And if so, it will execute the order and perform the swap for you. And then depending on the price you set, let's say you want to here buy a dip. If it goes below the low again, you basically just click on the lows in the price in the chart. That will set the price. And then you can place the limit order and buy 100 GMX for 2.29 wrapped ETH here. And then you can go to bed and our keepers will stay up for you and keep an eye on the price. And if the price goes below that level, then it will execute the price. And tomorrow morning you will wake up and have 100 more GMX in your wallet.
Cool. Nick, well done. This is great. I think the evolution of this is going to be really interesting to see. And this is what we need, right? I mean, like I said, perps are great. I love this. I love this as well. You know, like the fact that I can buy GMX over a period of time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the second order that is already live, the dollar cost averaging. You can select the token you want to buy. You select the token you want to pay with. And then the intervals that, how often you want to execute it in this case, for example, every 12 hours for 10 times. And then you set it once. And then our smart contract and our keeper infrastructure will do that for you. And in this case, for example, we had quite a bit of work in the background to implement the proper TWAP oracle for the Uniswap v3 pools. so that these dollar cost average orders cannot be front run or cannot be sandwiched. So what's happening in the background is that we basically only execute, or the smart contract only allows the execution of these DCA orders if the price is within the range of the TWAP over a certain period. So the default right now is a 5-minute TWAP, and that basically prevents any short-term front-running sandwich attacks or flash loan attacks on the pools, and will make sure that you're not getting rugged on these orders. And the third order we have here is the trailing stops. They are not live yet. That was a bit more complicated to implement than we initially hoped, especially if we want to provide also pairs or tokens that don't have a chain link price feed. That's where it gets really complicated. That's something that we are going to deliver now after the margin side is done or is being audited. Then we have some time to focus on that again. But yeah, again, this is, I think, a really cool feature, and it's going to be really nice to have, that you can basically just have a trailing stop loss that's fully non-custodial and on-chain. And whenever the token dumps, the keepers will execute the swap for you and protect your downside. Yeah, overall, initially, when we pushed this out, I kind of thought, okay, maybe this is just like a small add-on to the bigger margin part of things. But now that we've actually built it and seen the UI and seen how it works, I'm actually really excited about it. I think it is a big thing, and it's going to be just as important, like you said, as the margin side of things. That's one of the challenges that we are working on right now, is basically combining these two UIs, the one for the spot DEX and then the second one for the margin DEX, so that when we properly launch the margin side on mainnet as well, that we then have one integrated UI where you can do both the spot swaps and these advanced order types, as well as the margin trading side of things, as well as earning through the LPing side and staking the UND token to get part of the revenue and all of that. So that's still in progress. This right now is an early version. It's being re-implemented right now to also better support mobile views, for example, so that the people who are actually crazy enough to have significant funds on their phone wallets, that they can still use it. Initially, we are just going to use a responsive UI on that side. In the midterm, I really want to have like an adaptive UI, so that if you come from a phone, it really should be tailored towards that device and towards the specificities of that device, like gestures on a phone, for example, that we support that better. Yeah, that's all going to come at some point. But yeah, we're happy that we already have a cool working version of it live. And yeah, right now it's still alpha, so check the contracts yourself and be careful what you're doing. The contracts the spot contracts will also be part of the audits that we have scheduled for end of this month. So the margin contracts and spot contracts are both going to be audited. And then when the full launch happens after that, as soon as we get the green light there, then yeah, we'll remove the alpha label probably.
So I mean, this is great because, you know, like the intention of, you know, why I wanted to chat to you this morning was to essentially get that reflective process. You know, like we have an idea. This is what the idea looks like. We can put it in a box and we can look at it. And what I'm finding really interesting about this is that obviously, you know, plans change. Like I said, you know, you have a prevailing wind and you set sail, and then another wind comes and you're kind of like, okay, maybe that destination might be a better option. And I almost see, I mean, it's obvious that you're sticking to the margin side of things, the leverage side of things, and at the same time, you're seeing tremendous value in a product that essentially is going to land up solving probably a lot more headaches than, you know, just the other headaches that you started out with, you know, in terms of the decentralization, transparency. You know, what does this leverage look like? What does the liquidity look like? You're obviously getting to see that in a decentralized space. But now you're actually, what you're doing is you're actually like identifying a huge need around like a product that allows me to trade with the peace of mind that if I decide on a price and I have a strategy, I can execute on that. I don't have to wait for it to happen, which is huge. So you're saving people time, money, and in effect, I mean, time and in effect money by doing that. And then also there's that element of trust, right? Because there is a transparency around, like you said, go check out the contract. We're in alpha. We still need to audit. But I wouldn't have a problem, like, coming with 2 or 3 or 5 ETH and, doing this and then essentially like getting my trade and then, all right, cool, I'm a bit paranoid and I'll just transfer whatever I've bought out onto another wallet and that's cool. I'm not recommending that people do this and like go and expose themselves to risk. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that we essentially have an opportunity around a product that not only allows you to purchase or bid on something over time, as opposed to having to sit here and do it myself. I can also DCA into it with obviously those prices. So if I've done my TA and I've drawn a whole lot of lines, I can then execute on that with a DCA strategy, which works. We know that it works. I mean, I'm the last guy to advocate holding in light of what's happened over the last year and a half. Don't hold, like that's just my thing. But DCA at the right time when you feel like this is a bottom, and there's a lot of good TA out there that will allow you to do that. And then the trailing stop is just an absolute winner. I mean, that's, in my opinion, is a bonus. I would never have expected anyone in a kind of like a DEX or a decentralized space to set up a trailing stop. So right now, even though I love obviously the DCA and the limit order, the trailing stop is just, I think it's super cool. So just to kind of round it off, like, I think the most beautiful part about building is the surprise prevailing winds that come up, and then you land up getting excited over something that you never were going to be expected to get excited about. I like that.
Yeah, and also like one of the things for us is always there's these two pairs of glasses that people have and that we have when looking at the stuff we're building right now. One of this, and this is basically what you have been saying right now, this is something that, I mean, to some extent, other protocols have tried that. Limit orders, like 1inch, for example, had limit orders for a while. I don't know anybody who has used them and has been happy with them. And now there's just recently been some news around Trader Joe and the new Uni V4 parts that they will offer some ways around that. But just the basic functionality that you have on a centralized exchange everywhere, and that you want just as simple and just as clear on a decentralized exchange where it's your self-custody and your assets and your wallet, that we found missing, and that's why we built this. But it's only part of the reason why we built this. And that's basically, the one side of things, how people look at it is, okay, this is the on-chain part and the crypto natives, and okay, but there's this other protocol that has done it before, or there's this other protocol who's working on it, and that's totally fine and right, and that's one aspect. And we hope where we can contribute something of real value to the space right now and right here. But for us, we are also looking a bit longer, like mid and long term, and that's where we really are not too concerned about the current on-chain traders, the DeFi natives, but we really want those other users. We want the people who are currently trading on centralized exchanges, and we want the people who currently aren't participating in DeFi at all. We want those people to be able to do the same stuff. And this is what we're building right now, the spot advanced order types, the margin trading functionality. That's just the foundation for what we're going to build on top of that. So this is what's needed right now for us to be the foundation to then offer a super simple wallet where you can earn some yield on your assets. How that will work in the background, we will basically use these assets, deploy them in the margin DEX as an LP. Single-sided LPing without impermanent loss is what we can offer through the tech we are building right now. And that's what we're going to wrap in a super simple product where anybody that can click a button basically can participate and can earn some yield on that. Same for the limit orders that we talked about, or DCA or trailing stop. This is going to be what we're building right now is the foundation, and it can already be used as a standalone product by the DeFi natives that know how to do it and are comfortable with handling their wallet and their assets. But this is just the beginning. It's the required infrastructure for us to then abstract away all the complexities of that and build a simple one-click version of it. And that's where we see the real potential in the mid and long term, where we are going to get all a much larger market and way more users than the current few on-chain traders that are left in this bear market. We're going to get multiples of that in terms of users, simply by building on top of that and abstracting away the complexity.
Yeah, I think the real value in what it is that you guys are building is to attract those users. I can see that because that's the biggest gap at the moment, is obviously that barrier to entry. And I wanted to chat to you about that, because I know that was one of your like big goals, like I need to create essentially a rail that will allow for people to enter, and also very important to be able to exit. There's no point in having great wins, being a great trader, and then not being able to actually put that money to use out in the real world, even though this world is becoming even more real by the day. But you know what I mean? It's like we need that. So how is that aspect of things looking for you guys before we get onto the wallet? Because I want to chat about the wallet. I had a really cool interview with the CEO of Radix yesterday, which that for them that was like they're saying the exact same thing that you are, Nick. And what's interesting is that a lot of builders don't consider that, because they feel, okay, cool, well, we've got what we've got, and it's more important to build a product so that people can use it. But they don't actually look outside of that almost like they create a ring fence and then they don't look outside of that. And for them, the wallet was, for Radix, it's always been about the wallet. I mean, they've been developing that ecosystem for 10 years now. I mean, Dan Hughes started 10 years ago, and it's all about the wallet. So give me your thoughts around what you guys are planning and how you see that playing out from your perspective.
For the crypto fiat rails on ramp first.
Yeah, so that first, and then obviously the wallet tying into that.
So right now, internally from our team side, the dev part of things, and that includes me to quite an extent, has been fully focused on building this margin trading side of things and spot trading side of things, getting everything there ready, because as I said, this is going to be the foundation that we can then build on. But at the same time, other part of our team, namely George and Felix, they have been focused on getting the legal side of things evaluated, finding the right partners, connecting with the right partners on the banking and TradFi side, basically preparing this. So my internal mental roadmap was full focus on getting the contracts ready and the on-chain parts ready. This is now almost done. We're going to get the audit end of this month. Then we're going to go to mainnet with that. And at that point, then we're going to switch a bit from the focus. It's going to be like one part will be operations of the on-chain side of things, making sure everything is going smoothly and seeing where we can or want to or need to add more features like trading histories and stuff that is not fully on-chain immediately, where we need some supporting infrastructure. But then the main focus is going to be on establishing these on and off ramp, so that we really seamlessly, both as crypto natives, can move in and out. But then again, this is going to be the foundation then to do the next step, and that is going to be the wallet. So as soon as we can easily get in and out of crypto, or have people get in and out of crypto, and we know what to do once we are in crypto or have assets in crypto, namely either invest them or trade them or provide liquidity and earn on them. That's going to be the point where we focus then, or change the focus again on the wallet side of things, and really build out that part. And like the best comparison for what we are trying to achieve and what we have as a mental goal is going to be like the Robin Hood of DeFi, basically. Like Robin Hood really did a great job of abstracting away complexities and reducing the barrier of entry for people that want to participate in stock trading or options trading. And they did a great job, and it was very successful. And this is basically what we are going to do, but with the focus on crypto side of things. We have a lot of ideas around that. Not all of them are going to be in version 1. Just this morning on our Discord, we had an interesting discussion about smart contract wallet, security, key recovery. That's going to be a big topic because can't onboard normal people into crypto and tell them, okay, if you lose this one password or this one number
You're
string,
done. Yeah.
then all your money is gone, and there's no help support that you can call. So we definitely need solutions around that, and there is some good solutions. But also beyond that, there's a few things. Yeah, just this morning I talked about it. For example, one of the features we really want to have in the wallet is like an inheritance feature, where you can specify something. For example, okay, if no transaction has occurred for a year, then this other wallet gets access. And this other wallet could be either family or friends or a multi-sig or a centralized party that you trust, maybe your bank or maybe the legal entity we are going to set up for the on and off ramp part, or just any custodian that you want to take over at that point. That's, for example, something that yeah, I think is really important as well, just to make sure that self-custody is great. And I think it's way superior to trusting FTX, for example. But there is some challenges around it, and they need to be addressed if we really want a lot more people to take over the responsibility of being self-custodial and of owning your own assets.
What do you think the biggest challenges are from a development perspective? Because I mean, obviously, you know, you are sitting in that driving seat and you got the steering wheel firmly in your hands. I mean, what do you think are going to be the biggest challenges for you guys in terms of building out something like this?
So given the space we are operating in, that comes itself with certain set of challenges that you wouldn't find in like off-chain dev work. Some of that is just the environment that, for example, computation is expensive on a blockchain. You cannot just loop over 100,000 LP positions and update them individually. So you need to be really creative and find ways around that. Then another thing is that you're in a very adversarial environment. So you make a mistake, things are going to go bad. And that is kind of contrary to what a lot of the modern software development has been. That, like, Facebook had this famous motto, move fast and break things. So you just deploy a new feature as soon as you think it's ready, and then you let the users find out if it's actually ready or if it breaks somewhere.
Yes.
You can't do that on chain with smart contracts and when other people's money is involved. So there you have to take a lot slower approach, which is something that doesn't come natural to me. I really like to get shit done. So that's a bit of a challenge for me.
We definitely noticed that about you, sir. It's like, we're chatting to Nick. I can guarantee you it's not going to be like, oh, we've done this, and then there's nothing to talk about. It's like, we've done this, we've done that. And it's very cool to see. Anyway, sorry, Nick, I'm interrupting. Carry on.
Yeah, no problem. But when it is about like on-chain code, smart contract code, and where other people's money is involved, you just cannot move fast. You need to take it slow and make sure that everything is well developed, well tested, well reviewed, and then audited. So that's just coming with the space. And then beyond that, there's like a secondary challenges. Like, we would like to expand our dev team a bit, but at the same time, like, all of our devs currently are very senior. So finding the right people that are at the same level and that won't like slow us down, at least in the beginning. Like, if we would hire like 10 juniors now, then they would slow us down a lot until we get them up to speed and until we have been able to pass along enough knowledge and experience about how to develop on the blockchain space properly. But yeah, finding the experienced people that fit well into the team, that have the same values as us, and that have a skill set that is at the same level as what we currently have in the team is a bit of a challenge. We have grown the team a bit, but that is also, we definitely want to take it slow there and make sure that we get the right people on board. But ideally, growing the team a bit would be helpful. And then just from purely development side of things, there's stuff like oracles. Do you trust an oracle or not? That's more conceptual than like actual implementation detail. But do you rely on Chainlink or not? There's pros and cons to that. If Chainlink goes wrong, then a lot of DeFi and a lot of the space will burn, at least for a while. So there's always these trade-offs that you have to make, or where you have to make a good decision and a conscious decision. Are we going to rely on this? Are we going to build in fallbacks? Are we going to try and find a different solution around that? Purely on the implementation side of things, we don't really have any major challenges coming up. We have a very experienced team. They know what they're doing. So I'm not worried on that front at all. It's just going to take some time to do it well. And yeah, so far we've been able to keep all the deadlines, and with the big release now, we also will be. So looking forward to that. And then, yeah, we're going to see where we take it from there.
Wow. Okay. So I think the really interesting thing is, obviously you speak about, level of competence and skill within a developer, mindset, and more importantly, the delivery of whatever it is that your requirement is. What's interesting is that your problem is not unique to you. It's something that I've come across quite a bit, especially this year, funny enough. I mean, like even a year and a half ago, it was never like an issue. Like there were a lot of devs around. There was quite a lot happening. I mean, obviously, the result is a bear market. But I also find it surprising in that, bear markets are for building. We've heard it 350 million times. And I would have expected that there would have been almost like a skill set. But it seems like the really good devs are really held onto by projects that are serious about the space. And I think most of the time when a protocol is talking about wanting a senior dev and prepared to pay them, it's generally a protocol that's serious and are clearly in it for the long term. So yeah, it's not a problem that you're facing on your own. I know of at least 3 projects at the top of my head that are like really wanting good devs and have even like stated that they're no longer willing to compromise. They really need them. I mean, obviously we have one of the sister companies that we have is Web3 Nomads. And, we obviously try and source employment for people and devs and fill positions, because that's what Web3 Nomads does. It's an employment portal. Can't find a lot of senior devs. And when you do find a senior dev, they are very expensive. It's really that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's like the devs that are already in the space and that have a lot of experience in the space. They usually are also here for a reason. Like they identify strongly with the project that they are working on. They have the same values. And as long as nothing changes on that project side and around these values and what they are doing there, then it's not like in a traditional world where you just poach people and devs are happy or don't care if they work for Google or Facebook or whatever. Like most of them don't. That's different here in the space. And that's actually something cool, that people are really here, not just for the work and the money, but that they really, especially the ones that are real crypto natives, that they identify with the values and of the project and of the space. And that's why they are not just jumping or switching ships quickly. And then the other thing we noticed, like just the other day, we were looking also for an experienced UX designer, and we had a contact and talked to them, and they said they don't want to have anything to do with crypto anymore due to some bad experiences in the past with other projects. That's another thing I think in the bear market. It's just like, even for the hardcore DeFi maxis like yourself, yeah, you see that a lot. Like people are starting to question, is this the end? Is there going to be another bull market? Or how much longer do we have to suffer through the bear and all of that? So the people that are still interested really have to be here for the right reasons, and the ones who aren't, they are just going to leave. And then on top of that, you just had the results of all the scams and the shit that was happening in the last cycle, or happening in every cycle, that just going to alienate some of these people that might have the potential and that would like or would want to participate in a project and would want to share these values, but they just had a bad experience with going with the wrong people and being burned basically, so that now they are no longer willing to take that risk.
The thing is that what I've learned from previous cycles is the more that people start talking around the narrative of, oh my God, this is too much, it's it's over. It's like crypto's going to zero. It's a beautiful thing because we're approaching like the dead bottom, and you're smiling, dude,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's very interesting to see sentiment and then also look at some of the fundamentals. Like if you look at ETH fundamentals these days, couldn't be much better.
Couldn't absolutely. It's like it's insane. I mean, it was like, I was saying early on, I was speaking to the CEO of Radix, and he said something really interesting to me. So I said to him, but this everything's moving at light speed here, and it's like, and he's like, hold on a second. Everything at the top is moving at light speed, but you need to understand that the fundamentals take years. They take years and years and years. If you look at Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake, they've been trying to do that since 2015, 2016. Like a year after they launched, they like saw the failings of proof of stake, and they were like, proof of work, we need to go to proof of stake. Took them 7 years? And it's like, that's a long time. In crypto terms, that's like 150 years, you know what I mean?
At least.
So I think that the moral of the story is that we really do have to remind ourselves that this thing, even though things move fast and we're like, what the hell is going on? I think at the very essence of it, when you sit down and you talk to me about, I want to build the following thing, I think it's naive to think that you're going to build a wallet in like 2 months. I think maybe in your mind you could. I totally get, like, in many ways, I get the way that you see things, Nick. I've spoken to you enough. But you also know, like, practically, even though in your mind you've built it in 2 months, and it's like, okay, cool, I can see the whole thing. I've drawn it out, or however you work or how your flow works. But you know that to do this thing properly, as you said, I've got to do it slowly. I've got to do it methodically. I can't fuck it up, because if I do, then I might as well just throw my rep out the window. Money and all of that stuff becomes almost secondary to your reputation. It's kind of like a Kakuli blurt. We don't want to speak to him ever again. And that's at the end of the day is all you've got.
Yeah. No, that's also why we are taking really like an approach where we say, okay, we are starting with a solid first version, but we know it doesn't support all the features that we want to have yet. And then we use that as the foundation. So we have something, we can get started, we can get feedback, we see what's working, what isn't working, where we need to focus on, where we need to improve. And then step by step, we will roll out updates or new versions of that. And I think that's definitely the right approach. Take the time you need to build a really solid thing, but also be aware that you won't get it perfect from the beginning, and you need to start somewhere. And to some extent, done is better than perfect. So you want something out, maybe 2 months is too little, but also if you start now and don't show anything for the next 2 years, that's too long. So you need to find a way in the middle of that, a middle ground, where you say, okay, this is like internally, this term has been floating around the development space for a bit now. It's the MLP, the minimal lovable product. So it's not the minimal viable product that just barely does the thing. It's the minimal lovable product. So it has the core features, and yes, it's still missing a lot of the bells and whistles around it, but it's something that you actually like to use and where you're not running into issues like every second click, but that you can actually use on a daily basis. And yes, it doesn't have everything yet, but this can be the foundation. And then you move beyond that and add the features that you really need and want in the subsequent rollouts.
I'm definitely going to go and use your spot decks, by the way. I think it's a product that I could definitely love in its current state. I can see there's a lot that still needs to be done here, but I also know that it's going to get done. And if I can save myself sleep, first of all, I'm definitely going to use it. It just makes, and especially now with GMX. I mean, GMX is about to bottom out, in my opinion. And I want to be there to grab some, because GMX is a viable product. We know it is. It's proven itself. So anyways, I mean, I don't have any GMX bags, by the way, so I'm not trying to pump my bags. Yeah, I promise you I don't. But I'd like to have some, because I think it's going to be around for a very long time to come. And they've proven that there's a market fit. Just quickly, Nick, audits. I mean, we've I've written a lot about audits. It's been something that I've done like 2 long theses on. It's something that I obviously value the importance of. Tell us about your process. Who's doing your audits? Bug bounties, give it. Let's hear it. Very interested to hear about that.
Yeah, so in general, it starts internally. So as I said, we have an experienced team, and expecting, or from the start, thinking about what could go wrong is really important for us. So we're not just trying to build the thing and let it do what we want it to do, but we are from the start looking at what could go wrong and where do we need to be careful. Then we have an internal auditor, like a very experienced DeFi auditor, who is freelancing for us and who will check the contracts on our end internally. And then we're going to go with an external audit. In this case now, we are working with Sherlock again. What I primarily like about their concept and approach is that they are willing to put some skin in the game. So as far as I know, they are the only auditor still who is actually willing to provide smart contract insurance on any contract they audited and where all the found issues were fixed. And that's something that I feel is really missing in the auditing space. Yeah. It's just the alignment of incentives. Like there's so many companies out there, they charge you mid-5 to mid-6 figures depending on the complexity of the contracts. And then they say, oh, by the way, if we make a mistake and something slips through, then it's your problem. And that's an insane business model for them, I guess. But at the same time, there is just a misalignment of incentives or of the best outcome. I do like the contest-based audits, or like Sherlock or like Code Arena, where you just get a lot of people involved, and that also changes to some extent that alignment of incentives versus like a purely internal team. But at the same time, if you go with one of the really reputable companies that have a lot of experience in the space and you can afford to pay them and have the time and money to let them do a proper audit, there's also a lot of value in that, because this is just where a lot of the best auditors still are and might still be for a while. So that's really, definitely a worthwhile avenue as well. Now, for ourselves, initially, I said we're going to have like 2 audits at least before the mainnet launch. Now we're changing that a bit because we can already see that there's a V2 coming later this year. So we're going to move that second audit or even 2 audits then to that point. And we're going to start with the Sherlock audit, where we also have the smart contract insurance then on top. That's going to be the starting point for us. And then if we see a lot of traction initially, the TVL would maybe go above the amount that Sherlock is willing to insure, then we also have the revenue to get that second audit in quicker. It's still, audits are super expensive still. Like our contracts are not excessively complex at this point, and we're still being regularly quoted 6 figures, which is just a lot for a project like us. We did raise some, but we also want to make sure that that runway is being used properly, and that we build out what we promised to build out or said we were going to build out. So we can't just blow it all on a bunch of audits initially. So that's the audit space in itself. I hope it will evolve a bit more into these directions where incentives are better aligned and auditors and insurance is maybe gonna be combined a bit more, similar to what Sherlock offers. I think that model in itself is actually good. If you know what you're doing as an auditor, then you should be willing to earn some yield on the promise that you did a good job. I hope we're going to see more of that. But so far it's still the early days of that side of things. So we'll have to make do with what is out there and what projects I can afford. One thing we will never do is get that rubber stamp audit from certain companies that provide quote unquote audits. But where you can find the most is the Rec.News leaderboard. That's just the part that really grew a lot in the last bull market, where there was just a bunch of them, and they are still around to some extent. We see that happening more and more, that audited protocols still get wrecked. Sometimes solid audits and mistakes by the team or upgrades in the smart contracts. Our contracts won't be upgradable. We didn't choose the name Unstoppable by accident. We really want the stuff we build to be reliably what it is, and we're going to do our best to make sure that it doesn't have any bugs or any exploit vectors, which is why we both consider security very important internally, but also go for that external audit on top. But then beyond that, we won't do upgradable contracts or something around that. It's difficult to build in the space. Even solid teams sometimes run into issues. Like we had that thing happen with Euler Finance, for example. I would always consider them a really solid team, and they seem to be really aware and consider security a high priority. And even for them, stuff happens. The space is still new. Some things like the second and third order effects of how things work together between different protocols, contracts, oracles, all of that is just so complex and so new that we don't know all of the potential problems yet. So at the moment, we can only ever try and minimize them as well as possible and make sure that the known issues are covered. And then, hope that we are on the right track and that the solid practices we employ are taking care of the rest.
The thing is, Nick, that if all else fails, and I'm not talking about the audits, I'm saying if all else fails, we could always just set up our own auditing company and do it the correct way. I mean, in case we get bored, of course. I mean,
actually, something we already
it's like there's a business opportunity here, insurance, and then you just get the best possible team and you do it properly, it's like
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, on-chain insurance, smart contract insurance is still a very underrepresented sector and still no good solutions on that. And simply combining that with auditors, which you need to do either way, because you cannot insure a contract if you don't know if it's safe or not. So you do need your own internal competent auditing team anyway. To me, that's a no-brainer. Like really build it up solidly, get some of the TradFi insurance experts in. Like insurance is a business as old as the days. They know what works, what doesn't work, how to structure it so it makes sense for everybody, for all the participants. And then, you do need to pay for the good auditors, but there's ways to do that. And also the crowdsourcing of auditing is great. And the concept combining that is a solid idea, solid business model, I think. And it does add a lot of value to the space.
I can't believe we've just formulated a business idea on stream. I'm sure someone's going to steal it before we do it.
That's fine, and it's one thing less that we need to do because there's still enough to do for us anyway.
Before we close it out, I really wanted to. It's more like kind of like from your personal perspective, and I just wanted to, because I do respect your opinion in the space, and I wanted to get your thoughts around something that's very topical at the moment, and that's obviously, Uniswap version 4. Have you had a chance to look at it in terms of what they're proposing, and what do you think?
Yeah, not really yet. I only saw some of the stuff that is flying by on Twitter. I didn't take a look at the codes and everything in detail yet. I mean, that's one of the downsides of being a builder. You're just very busy with your own thing, and you can't keep up with everything else happening in the space anymore. From what I have heard, it adds a lot of complexity from what I have heard. That swings both ways. It means you will be able to build a lot of interesting stuff on top of it, but complexity, especially in a security context and in a adversarial environment, is always very dangerous. So I'm kind of skeptical on that front if the trade-off between value added versus all the rugs we're going to see by these implemented hooks and stuff. I need to look into it in more detail. My current understanding is that it adds a lot of complexity, which I'm not a fan of in general, unless it's justified by the added value. And I'm not sure if that's the case in this context. I'd have to look closer at it. But for now, I'm skeptical.
Okay, cool. We'll revisit that, of course. What is before we close it out, just quickly, what is on your immediate roadmap that you can possibly talk about now, or is it just more of the same for now? Is there something that's close, that's within sight, and the light at the end of the tunnel in this case is not an oncoming train? Can you give us something around that, or is there nothing really significant at the moment?
No, I mean, we do have like 1-2 more weeks now to finalize the code base and get it ready for the auditing. Audit is going to happen end of this month. And as soon as we get the green light, we are going to do the mainnet launch of the margin site, and that will integrate with the spot site. So it's going to be the first version 1 minimal lovable product of the Unstoppable DEX. So really excited about that. And that will then also include the LPing, so earning yield on your single-sided assets, as well as the staking of the UND token. We're still working on the multiplier points around that to make sure that long-term holders are rewarded a bit more than the early people or the swing traders. But yeah, this is gonna come as well. So that's definitely the upcoming thing that's going to happen in the coming weeks. Very excited about that, and then see where we are with that. Get some feedback from the users, from the community, see where we need to improve. But then, I'm also excited to finally have this foundation in place and be able to focus on the stuff we want to build on that and get closer to that idea of making it easier for people to come in and to grow the overall market, get really different kind of people to come over to the self-custodial and DeFi decentralized side. That's really what I'm most excited about. And what we have right now is the first step of that is going to be the foundation. It's already a cool product that I'm going to use myself, and that I hope that the crypto natives are going to appreciate and enjoy using. But it's also just the beginning. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. I mean, obviously we'll check in with you again next month. Definitely bring you in. It seems like there will be quite a lot to talk about. There's actually quite a few things that that have come to mind that I don't want to necessarily get into at the moment, but maybe something that people can look forward to is, obviously the value proposition and the value that will be essentially extracted from, the loyal users that are using the DEX, but also the stakers. So I want to obviously chat about that, and, maybe from a philosophical perspective as well, kind of like DeFi native, understanding and kind of like that positive feedback loop around that. I also want to chat about, potential partnerships that, could come out of this, because as we know, like it's easy to have conversations around, like ideas, and like, okay, if your idea is a good idea, then we'd be interested. But here we've gone beyond that now. Now we've got, a good idea that started out with a very successful raise, and from that has come this insane effort to build something that is obviously like going to make a difference. I mean, just the spot stuff alone, in my opinion, it's huge, and it's going to be really cool to see, what potential partnerships come out of the fact that you've delivered, as opposed to, well, we will speak to you once you have delivered, and that's now happening. And then I think the third thing that we're going to be writing about, which we never really spoke about in this interview, but we will going forward over the next 12 weeks, is obviously the Odyssey, kind of like almost let's do a better version of the Arbitrum Odyssey that was originally proposed last year. And you took it upon yourself to essentially do that incentive amongst protocols within the Arbitrum space. For people who don't know what that is, essentially users of the Arbitrum ecosystem will be rewarded through a series of essentially quests / missions that will be put forward by protocols that have been brought into this Odyssey program that the Unstoppable crew have put together. But it's not about Unstoppable. It's about the greater collective and everyone coming together. And sure, there's going to be credit given where credit is due, but at the same time, it's about involving this crypto native DeFi, philosophical. It's a cool thing, It's like you guys are wanting to be inclusive about this thing. You haven't gone out there dangling carrots on your own. You're saying, let's make it appealing for everybody. And it seems like you've had a buy-in around that. Screw it. Let's chat a bit about that. We're not going to round it off now.
I kind of forgot to mention that a bit.
Let's chat about that.
Super soon.
Yeah, let's chat about that and kind of like round off this chat about what was the reasoning, what's the thought around it. Just share your feelings around it. I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So basically, we always liked what Arbitrum initially did with their Odyssey program, where they tried to incentivize users to get them over to try Arbitrum and to try protocols in that ecosystem and space. At the time, they ran into some problems regarding the capacity of the chain, primarily because there was also a lot of bots and simple attacks involved, because everybody was expecting the ARB token airdrop to be connected to that. And then it kind of faded out. And a while ago, we realized, hey, we really like that program. And we think it's great both for the protocols that are involved, for the Arbitrum ecosystem overall, but also for the users, that they get to try new protocols and figure out what they are about and just learn what is out there. And is there something that they might want to use again? So we had the idea to basically come up with the community edition of the Odyssey. So we called it the Odyssey 2.0 Community Edition. And we reached out to other projects on Arbitrum if they would be interested in doing this with us and setting it up and participating. And the way we're going to do it is that we're going to do season 1 now, starting soon. It's going to be 12 projects are going to be involved. It's going to run over 12 weeks. So 1 week per project. There's going to be a set of tasks defined by the project that users have to complete. If they complete it, they get an NFT that shows the completion of that. And if you participate through the 12 weeks, through all the 12 programs and projects, then you qualify for the final prizes. And there's going to be some prizes and an airdrop for all the participants. That's the general concept. We already got some very nice partners involved here. The list is almost full. We had 1 or 2 that we needed or wanted initially to be part of this, and they just couldn't because they aren't on Arbitrum yet or won't be in the coming weeks. So they aren't on mainnet soon enough to participate in this season at least. So I think there is like 1 spot left that we have to fill right now. And when that's filled, we can announce all the protocols that are going to be part of this and how it works. And it's going to be really exciting. We are going to participate ourselves, of course, as well. It's going to be a nice chance to just get to know a lot of the protocols and what they do and how they do it. And something I'm really excited about, because as you said, it's not about us. It's about the entire ecosystem, about Arbitrum, about the protocols on it. And the users as well. So I'm really excited that we could find such good partners, and the list we have is pretty decent. So we are excited about that, and hope we can start it soon.
So look forward to seeing that list. I hope you get your final one. And there's a saying that goes, don't do what they say. What's it? Don't do what they say, do what they do, right? Or something along those lines. And it's like, you obviously speak about, being decentralized, being about a collective, being accountable, being transparent. The fact that you guys are doing this proves exactly what you guys are about. So well done for putting it together. I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's what we need. It's like, that ice cold glass of water in the middle of the Sahara Desert at noon, because that's what the market is right now, and we need that cool water, man. So if there is something that protocols can give back, then please make it happen. We'll obviously participate. We'll sing from the rooftops. It's so cool that you guys are doing this, and that's the cool thing about these chats, is that we sometimes forget the important things to last. But we didn't forget, thank goodness. Cool, Nick. We'll definitely check in the next month or so. And yeah, good luck out there. Keep doing your thing, sir. It's definitely going to make a difference. I have no doubt. Pleasure to have you.
Appreciate it, and was a pleasure as always.